Well, things seem to be going bad to worse for the BBC. Let's begin. Now, you know, there are a few people out there, blind ones I'm guessing, who often say that the BBC are pioneers of television and that everything they put on, or most things, are wonderful programming and the licence fee is just worth it and whatever other crap they want to spout out. However, unfortunately for them and the BBC, something has just come out which surely means it's actually getting worse for the BBC and will therefore make them all eat humble pie. And I say that because, according to this article, it says 500,000 households cancelled the BBC TV licence fee in the past year, preferring Netflix and YouTube instead. And let's face it, you can't exactly blame them, can you? I mean, not only is Netflix and obviously YouTube far cheaper than the BBC, because at the very least YouTube is basically free and Netflix starts at $4.99 a month, and the programming surely is much more better. Because obviously Netflix and streaming services like that have got a global audience and therefore can spend much more money on their programming. I'm not saying, of course, that the BBC is short money, because obviously they aren't they? With the ridiculous £169.50 yearly fee that every household who wants to watch live TV has to pay, which actually, if you think about it, is just ridiculous in this day and age by itself, isn't it? But anyway, there are a few more revelations which are going to be a kick in the BBC's man sausage, and I say that because according to this, the annual corporation's report suggests that it's grappling with wider changes in media consumption such as streaming and on-demand services. The BBC apparently collected £80 million less in licence fee income in the last year, driven by a decline in sales volume and flat fee licence pricing. Hang on a minute, flat fee? The TV licence has always been flat fee. It's been one price, hasn't it? So could this be their next plan to get even more money out of us by making some people pay more than others? Which is surely even more of an outrage, and I personally can't see them actually getting away with that. I mean, just imagine the amount of public uproar that would cause. If, for example, like your neighbour was still paying £13, whatever it is a month, whilst you, unfortunately, you had to pay presumably something like £29.99 a month, plus annual interest maybe. More than likely because you earn more. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? And therefore I cannot see that getting an easy ride through Parliament. But then again, of course, Labour is in charge, so with their massive majority, it looks like it might be easier for them to get through than I thought. But anyway, it carries on. The number of active licences dropped from 24.4 million in 2022 to 23 to 23.9 million by the end of last year. And the report also shows that how young people increasingly feel that the broadcaster is not relevant to them, something which surely is going to hit them hard, because as these younger people grow up, that will more than likely mean there'll be less and less people paying the licence fee because of that, and therefore their audience will dwindle even more. In addition to this, though, the number of 16 to 34-year-olds using the BBC's audio app, BBC Sounds, flatlined at 590,000. So therefore, it's no wonder why the BBC might be thinking, oh, I need to cut back. Well, how about BBC? You actually go the adverts route, and therefore it won't be us who pays the licence fee, well, it'll be companies. So surely that is more than likely a better way to go, isn't it? Than even something like subscription, I'm guessing. But they're not going down that route, it seems, because it says this comes after the BBC is also set to axe 500 jobs over the next 20 months in a bid to save £200 million and become a leaner and more agile organisation. And whilst saving money is good, I can think of a much better way for them to save money where 500 people could presumably keep their jobs, and that is by cutting some of the figures in this list here. I mean, it's just a thought, BBC, but just ask yourself, do they really provide the entertainment for people to justify those sums? Especially the top one, BBC. I think that could go down by quite a bit, eh? But where are these jobs going to be axed? Well, apparently the redundancies are set to be achieved by closing and transferring some roles and creating others in growth areas are the latest layoffs as the BBC copes with squeezed funding and inflationary pressures. So what have they said about it then? Well, apparently the BBC said the move was part of accelerating our digital-first approach to reach audiences where they are. Well, maybe, BBC, just maybe, if you want to reach audiences more than the UK, presumably, then why don't you either go down that ads or subscription route, and therefore you can cover all over the world, can't you? Unless, of course, BBC, I guess there's always the chance that bugger all people will watch your aim. So how do they plan to achieve this? Well, apparently they say, over the course of the next 2 years, we will look further to move the money we have into the priority areas that provide real value for audiences, it says. Yeah, real value, eh, BBC? Yeah, just keep telling yourself that. I personally think the words real value has probably escaped their minds. But, don't worry, because in his review of the past year, Director General Tim Davies said years of below-inflation licence fee settlements have chipped away at its income and put serious pressure on our finances. And although inflation-linked prices have been reinstated, he noted that the broadcaster has experienced a 30% real terms cut from 2010 to 2020 and a tough couple of years of flat funding. And unfortunately for the BBC, I think that's only going to get worse as time goes on, because obviously in this day and age the licence fee is a rather outdated concept, surely. And therefore, I'm sorry BBC, but it's got to go. Well, in my opinion anyway, but otherwise I'm sure you'll find life far more difficult as time goes on. He says though, we will need a leaner, more agile organisation to make the most of the digital-first opportunity to redesign our process, cut costs and serve audience better, Davies said. Well, it does make me wonder if they will actually eventually go to the subscription route, because it says the top BBC chief said that would also require discussions with the government about the right way to fund the BBC World Service at a critical moment for democracy worldwide. Well, why is this a critical moment for democracy worldwide? I mean, let's face it, I don't know about you, but I personally don't think the BBC is very impartial. Quite often, in my opinion, they do seem to be quite one-sided. And I think let's just say that their favourite party, unfortunately, is now in charge of the country, eh?